Hello and welcome to this channel, Poddar School of Mathematics. Today in this channel, we will discuss very important and useful chapter of mathematics. The name of this chapter is Quadratic Equations. This chapter is important in CBSE as well as ICSE curriculum for class 10. तो चलिए हम लोग इसको अच्छी तरह समझते हैं और पूरे कंसेप्ट्स के साथ इसको क्लियर करते हैं. वेरी यूजफुल चैप्टर क्वाड्रेटिक इक्वेशन. क्वाड्रेटिक इक्वेशंस को समझने के लिए थोड़ा सा हम पीछे चलते हैं और हम लोग डिस्कस करते हैं पोलिनोमियल्स का. पोलिनोमियल्स आप इसे पढ़ चुके हो कि व्हाट इज़ पोलिनोमियल. पोलिनोमियल इज़ एन एक्सप्रेशन. एक्सप्रेशन बहुत तरह के होते हैं, लेकिन एक ऐसा एक्सप्रेशन जो इस फॉर्म में हो, दैट इज़ पी एक्स इज इक्वल टू a0 प्लस a1x प्लस a2x स्क्वायर प्लस डॉट 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 प्लस an x टू द पावर n. इस तरह के फॉर्म में अगर कोई एक्सप्रेशन हो जिसमें a0 a1 a2 डॉट 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 an रियल नंबर्स हो, if these are real numbers and coefficient of x to the power n, that is an is not equal to 0, then the expression is a polynomial of degree n. दो चीज़ यहाँ पर इम्पॉर्टेंट है कि a0 a1 a2 डॉट 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 an इसको रियल नंबर्स होना चाहिए. दूसरा x to the power n, that is the highest power of the variable term x, इसका जो कोफिशिएंट है an उसको ज़ीरो नहीं होना चाहिए. If this will be 0, then this term will be vanished, this term becomes 0, and then the highest power of x will not be n in this expression, it will be less than n. So the polynomial will not be the polynomial of degree n. So for protecting that the polynomial is of degree n, an should not be 0. This we have discussed in earlier section, in earlier chapter. If we discuss about linear polynomial or real polynomial, then a0 a1 a2 a3 an, these are real numbers, and an is not equal to 0, and the value x should be a real variable. X should be real variable, means the value of x should be a real number, then it will be real polynomials. So we can define real polynomial like this. What is real polynomial? Let a0 a1 a2 dot 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 an be real numbers and x is a real variable, then px is equal to a0 plus a1x plus a2x square plus dot 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 plus an x to the power n is called a real polynomial of real variable x with real coefficients. I think it is clear. Real polynomial and polynomial both are same, but we have to discuss about real numbers and we have to discuss about real variable, that is called real polynomial. I think it is clear. Now come to the next point. If we are understanding what is polynomial, then we should understand what is polynomial equation. Polynomial equation. What is polynomial equation? Now we are coming to the point equation. So what is polynomial equation? If px is a polynomial and px is equal to 0, then px equal to 0 is called polynomial equation. How will you define? You define like this: if px is a polynomial and then px is equal to 0 is called a polynomial equation. If px is a polynomial of second degree, depending upon the degree of the polynomial, the degree of the polynomial may be n, it may be 2, it may be 3, it may be 1. So if px is a polynomial of second degree, then px is equal to 0 is called a quadratic equation. That polynomial equation will be quadratic equation if the polynomial is of second degree. If the polynomial is of degree 2, then px equal to 0 is a quadratic equation. So now we are able to start quadratic equation. This chapter is very important and we have to learn step by step. So what is quadratic equation? Quadratic equation actually in before 598 AD, Babylonians firstly solved the quadratic equation. After that, Euclid has discussed, that is Greek mathematician, and Euclid has discussed quadratic equation in terms of geometrical approach. By geometrical approach, Euclid has discussed quadratic equation, and then Indian mathematician came on 598 to 665 AD, and Brahmagupta, Indian mathematician, has explicited formula of quadratic equation. However, Arab mathematician in 800 AD, they have also studied about quadratic equation in various types, and at last and afterwards Indian scientist, that is Sridharacharya, in 1025 AD, this Indian mathematician has created quadratic formula for solving quadratic equation. And how to solve quadratic equation? One quadratic formula has been developed, and that formula is also known as Sridharacharya formula or Sridharacharya rule. And according to that rule also, immediately we can solve by this method quadratic equation. So this is the history of quadratic equation, and to understand quadratic equation, now this history is important to learn, and after that you define quadratic equation. Quadratic equation. What is quadratic equation? A quadratic equation in the variable x is an equation of the form ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0, where a, b, c are real numbers and a is not equal to 0. This is a quadratic equation when a, b, c are real numbers and a is not equal to 0. Definitely if a will be 0, then this term will be vanished and this term will be cancelled now, and then this will not be a quadratic equation. So it is necessary to make a not equal to 0. So an equation, or this can also expressed as an equation of the form px is equal to 0, an equation of the form px equal to 0 where px is a quadratic polynomial, then the equation is called quadratic equation. So Px is equal to 0 is a quadratic equation if Px is a quadratic polynomial. I think it is clear what is quadratic equation. Once again I am telling you that a quadratic equation in the variable x is an equation of the form ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0, where a, b, c are real numbers and a is not equal to 0. And in this way we can get standard form of quadratic equation. What is the standard form of quadratic equation? That is ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So we'll compare any quadratic equation from this standard form. Here a, b, c are real numbers and a is not equal to 0. So this ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0 is considered as an standard form of quadratic equation. Now we discuss two things, very important things, that is quadratic polynomial and quadratic equation. Quadratic polynomial and quadratic equation. Ax square plus bx plus c, this is a quadratic polynomial, whereas ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0 is a quadratic equation. This is a polynomial and this one is equation because it is in the form of an equation. You take one example, 2x square minus 3x plus 1. This is a quadratic polynomial. In this quadratic polynomial, you consider the value that is x equal to 1. If you put x equal to 1 here, then we are getting 2x square minus 3x plus 1 is equal to 2 into 1 square minus 3 into 1 plus 1, that is equal to 2 minus 3 plus 1 is equal to 3 minus 3 is equal to 0. Since putting x equal to 1 in this quadratic polynomial, we are getting this expression is 0. So 0 and 1, you see this one. So x is equal to 1 is the solution. X is equal to 1 is the solution of this quadratic polynomial. And x is equal to 1 is called 0 of the quadratic polynomial. 0 of the quadratic polynomial. This is known as 0. X is equal to 1 is the 0 of this quadratic polynomial. So we can find zeros of this quadratic polynomial. Okay, the value of x which makes the polynomial 0 is called 0 of the polynomial, right? But when you put here x is equal to 1 and then left hand side is equal to how much? It is also, if you consider the same question, that is 2x square minus 3x plus 1 is equal to 0. This is a quadratic equation. In this equation, if you put x is equal to 1, you will get LHS is equal to 0 and LHS is equal to RHS. Means x is equal to 1 satisfies this equation, 2x square minus 3x plus 1 equal to 0. Therefore, x is equal to 1 is called root of the quadratic polynomial. Root of the quadratic polynomial. So here we are giving the term root. However, in polynomial we are giving the term 0 of the polynomial, and here root or roots of the equation. So root of the quadratic equation, not polynomial, it is equation, root of the quadratic equation. Okay, so 0 of the quadratic polynomial and root of the quadratic equation both are same thing, but we termed like this. I think it is clear. Now, what is the use of quadratic equation in our life? Suppose one person has decided to fix a carpet on this prayer hall, suppose prayer hall, and the total area of this prayer hall is 300 square meters, suppose, but person is not knowing the length and breadth of this prayer hall. However, one information he has, that actual length is one more than twice of its breadth. If the breadth is x, then length is 2x plus 1. So, as per this information, x into 2x plus 1 is equal to 300. You find the area of this prayer hall. Area is length into breadth, that is x into 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. And 2x square plus x is equal to 300. And 2x square plus x minus 300 is equal to 0. So we are getting a quadratic equation here. And after solving this quadratic equation, after finding the value of x, we will get length and breadth of this quadratic. This is the use of quadratic equation. In this way, we can discuss quadratic equation in 5 phases. First phase is to solve a quadratic equation by factorization method. Second is to solve quadratic equation by completing the square. Third is quadratic formula, Sridharacharya's rule. By this rule, one formula has been created, and through that formula we can solve quadratic equation. Then we have to discuss about nature of the roots of the quadratic equation, and after that, taking all these things into consideration, we will solve word problems on quadratic equations. So in 6 lectures including today's lecture, we can complete this chapter, quadratic equation. Thank you.